Do you have that one friend who seems to know an insufferable amount about a lot of random subjects? The person who chimes in with the odd and sometimes highly disturbing fun fact. Well, my name is Carly, and I am that friend. I often find myself wondering about topics that range from the history of certain holidays to what makes some wines expensive and some a little on the cheaper side. So I make use of that mini supercomputer I carry everywhere and just look it up. Lately, I have decided to share the random knowledge that I acquire with all of you lovely listeners. So welcome to I'm Already Looking It Up. Let's have a drink and learn a thing or two. Hello, you're listening to I'm Already Looking It Up, the podcast where I, your host, research a random topic and tell you, my lovely listeners, all about it. So without further ado, let's get started. Hello, welcome back to I'm Already Looking It Up. So today is a topic that I kind of picked just for me, and it's a bit silly and kind of fun, but let me just start out with this. When you were a kid, did your parents ever tell you some ridiculous tall tale or white lie to get you to behave or to scare you or anything like that? Because my parents certainly did, and I know a lot of friends who say their parents did. And it's kind of insane, the things that they will come up with, but most of all, the things that we'll believe. So my big one when I was a kid was watermelon seeds. It's such a weird one because now that I think about it, they weren't harmful to me, so there was no reason to tell me this. But my parents used to tell me, and this was with any fruit seed, but mostly watermelon seeds. My parents used to tell me, and my brothers, and my sister, that if we swallowed watermelon seeds, a watermelon would grow in our stomach. And that scared me so much to the point that I cried about it, and I was legitimately afraid of it. So I always made sure to spit out my watermelon seeds. I don't know what the purpose was, because they're not, watermelon seeds are not harmful to you or anything. You can swallow them. But that has always stuck in my mind as something that is just like a ridiculous little lie that my parents told me. So for this episode, I found an article with a list of 287 white lies parents tell their kids, which is really great. And I don't know if we'll get through all 287, but I'm definitely going to read them and comment on them. And I have read some of these already, and I just think they're so funny. Because some of these parents are just genius in what they lie about. So, the first one. I've always been pretty fascinated with space. When I was a little girl, my dad would take his ladder and put it on our lawn every night and bring me outside to tell me that he put the moon up for me. I believed him for years. He passed away a few years ago, and every night when I see the moon, I think of him. I saw this first one already, and I just think that's so sweet. That's such a cute little memory to have of your parent, and something that they said they did for you. So, and again, it's a little white lie that's like not even necessary to say, but it's a sweet thought. I like it. My mom brainwashed me as a kid. She put all of the candy out in the open and told me I could eat it whenever I wanted, but she'd hide the vegetables and tell me I could only eat them as a special treat at dinner. It worked. When I was 6, I asked if I could have a bowl of Brussels sprouts for my birthday instead of a cake. Oh, that's so sad. I hated vegetables. I still do. I'm not a big vegetable eater. I try just, for health reasons, but I don't love it, especially cooked vegetables. But I love lies like that, just to get your kids to do something. I was told that every person gets 10,000 words per month. This sounds like something, I've read this one already. And this legitimately sounds like something my parents would have come up with for me. Because I was I was quite the talker as a kid. You wouldn't know that now meeting me in person or anything, but I was very, very talkative. I was told that every person gets 10,000 words per month. If you reach the limit, you can't physically speak until the new month begins. Anytime I was especially talkative, Dad would say, "Careful now, I think you are up over 9,000 by now," and that would shut me right up. So, I think that's funny. Again, I really think my parents would have used that on me if they'd known that one, or if they'd come up with it. My dad said if I could look after a special growing rock and watered it each day until it stopped growing, I could get a dog. I'd water it, and every week while I was at school, he'd replace it with a slightly bigger rock. I read part of that one, but I didn't read the ending. That's cute. Aw, that's nice that he replaced the rock every week, but he's testing their ability to take care of something, and they took care of it. I don't know if the writer's a he or a she, but that's cute. My parents used to tell my only brother and I that we used to have another brother who turned into a mushroom from not taking a bath, even added him to the family albums. That is amazing. Another lie is if the ice cream truck is playing music, it means they have run out of ice cream. I've heard that as a commonly used one before. That's great. We got our daughter to eat fish by calling it Argentinian chicken. Again, I think this is something my parents would have done. That worked for a long time until Grandma came along and effed it up. I was weird. I am still weird with food, but I was definitely weird about it when I was a kid. And my parents did trick me once into eating, and I'm sure they tricked me into eating a lot of things. But the main one I remember is we were at this really famous restaurant. Well, not really famous, really well-known restaurant from where we used to live. And they served frog legs, and my parents got some, and I tried it, and I can't remember. I think they told me it was chicken beforehand, and I tried it, and then they told me it was frog legs, and I was like, "Oh, that's so gross," and have never eaten frog legs ever again, because I was traumatized. Not really, but yeah, I feel like that's something my parents would have done. My grandma told us that smelling each other's farts would make us stronger. Worst Christmas ever for us, funniest Christmas for her. Very gross. Don't understand the point of that one, but it's fine. My mother told me that spinach would make me strong like Popeye, and if I ate it, I could lift the house. I would have a few spoonfuls, and then she'd rush outside with me, and I'd try to lift the house, squeezing my eyes shut with effort. She'd go, it moved! Quick, eat some more!" And I'd run back inside and finish it off. Smart mom. That was Popeye's purpose, wasn't it? To get him, get kids to eat their vegetables. When I was little, my dad told me that toys grew under the weeds in the yard, and if I pulled them, eventually a toy would pop out, and I believed it for a long time. That's cute. Again, just getting kids to do things they wouldn't like doing. My grandpa told me when driving on the highway, the fastest way to count all of the cows, I thought he said crows when I first read this. This makes so much more sense. To count all of the cows in a field is to count all the legs, then divide by 4. It took me many, many years to figure out that my grandpa was a huge troll. Amazing. My mother was a genius. She told us that brown M&Ms were only for adults, so whenever we encountered a brown M&M, we would give it to her. Smart. When I was a kid, I was really interested in dinosaurs, but also afraid of them. I would have trouble going to sleep because I was worried that one might just appear and eat me, even though I knew about extinction. My mom convinced me that the asteroid theory had been questioned, and the next likely theory was that there had been an explosion of liquid vanilla that killed all of them off. She proceeded to fill a spray bottle with vanilla extract and put it in my room, and taught me to spray in each of the corners of my room before I went to bed, saying north, south, east, and west, dinosaurs take a rest. I believe that this was the only thing keeping me safe for quite a while. That's cute, though. That's such a cute little solution to a fear. Something to make, like, your kid feel just a little safer. And I like that. I like that a lot. If I ever have kids, I have to use some of these. Alright. The funniest one I'd heard was a father who was asked about coconuts in the store by his son. He said, "Don't go near those, son. Those are bear eggs." I guess they kind of look like they could be bear eggs. The door is locked because Mommy was helping Daddy hang a picture behind the door, and we didn't want you to open it and hit us. Goddamn, how many times are you guys hanging pictures behind that door at night? That one's good. That's funny. My dad told me if I ate spinach, if I ate my spinach, I would get hair on my chest like Popeye's. Weird writing. It's fine. So here I was, a small girl, wolfing down my spinach, hoping I'd get hair on my chest. When I got older, I realized I wasn't supposed to get hair on my chest. My dad laughed at me. Sounds about right. My dad, a 2 to 3 pot a day coffee drinker, had convinced me at age 7 that you had to be 16 to buy and drink coffee. My first time at Starbucks when I was 16, I was so nervous because I thought they would card me. That sounds like another thing my mom would come up with, but I don't remember when she first let me try coffee. I knew it was a concern because she knew it would just make me more hyper. And it did. And I loved it. I still love coffee. I drink coffee every day. Babies were bought from the hospital. Women had to get really fat to prove that they could afford eating well and therefore afford having a baby. Wonderful. Good lie. Probably makes for some awkward situations down the road, though, like if your kid accidentally calls like a pregnant lady really fat and that, like, saying that's a good thing. That's crazy. That'd be funny though. When she was small, I told my daughter that when she lied, a red spot would appear in the middle of her forehead. I knew for sure it worked when she did indeed lie and then her hand went up to cover her forehead. Amazing. They don't, another lie, they don't sell replacement batteries for that toy. The things that we believed, though, as little kids, and we were just like, oh, okay, and just kind of, like, took it at face value. It's so crazy. My dad always told me that if I press a certain button on our remote control, our TV would explode. As I grew older, I was curious and pressed said button only to see that he saved porn channels on that one. Okay. Alright, I mean, I guess that's one way. One time, when we were visiting relatives in the UK, I was playing outside and a bee got near me and I freaked out. Mom offhandedly said, "It's okay, honey, British bees don't sting," to get me to calm down. Fast forward 10 years when I was a teenager, I repeated the fact within earshot of my mom and she said, "Who told you such a stupid thing?" "You did, Mother, you did." The sass. We have to leave the zoo now. The zookeeper called my cell phone. And your crying is upsetting the animals. That's a good one. We aren't French, so you can't eat French fries from McDonald's. Oh no. My father always said the animals on the side of the road were just taking a nap, I'm guessing. A nap since the road was warm. Aww. That's sad and great. My dad used to tell us that if we lay perfectly still in our backyard for long enough, then vultures would circle us and land and try to eat us. My brother and I would lay silently in the backyard for hours while my dad sat inside watching TV and drinking beer. Well played, Dad. Well played. Fair enough. Sounds like something my parents would use on me. If I eat green beans, then I will turn into the Green Power Ranger when I'm older. That never happened, Mom. I love that. In all caps. My dad said Pulp Fiction was a documentary about oranges so that I wouldn't want to watch it. Okay, that's a good one. My dad would never tell us what he really did for a living. He'd always say, I used to paint the spots on Dalmatian dogs, but I got really good now, and now I paint. But I got really good, and now I paint the spots on ladybirds. I believed him for a good couple of years. Story time. In kindergarten, a girl told me what sex was. She told me incorrectly, so I had a bunch of questions. I walked up to my mom and said, Mom, I know what sex is. She sort of panicked and said, okay. I responded, I just don't understand how you know when you are done. I am a girl and I didn't understand the concept of ejaculation. So my mom looked me straight in the face and said, you set a kitchen timer. And she never fucking told me the truth. I found out in high school. Oh, that's classic. Love it. You set a kitchen timer. My mom told my brother and I that a penguin lived behind the fridge, and if we left the door open too long, we'd steal his cold and he'd get mad and come out and bite us. It worked on my brother. I asked my mom to move the fridge so I could pet the penguin. Me too. I would do that. The car won't start if your seatbelt isn't on. I'm pretty sure, I don't think my parents ever used that on me, but I had a pretty good reason for wearing a seatbelt as a kid. I hardly ever needed to be told not to wear my seatbelt. I still am very adamant about wearing a seatbelt in a vehicle usually. All right. I refused to eat eggs when I was younger. The only way my mom could get me to eat them would be to draw green and purple spots on them and tell me they were dinosaur eggs. Apparently, I thought dinosaur eggs were delicious. Fair enough. If I misbehaved in the car would be sad. I think I was 5 or something. Fast forward a year, and I'm tearfully telling the car that I'm sorry he has to go, but I'm sure he'll be a cool plane in his next life. What? Car would be sad. Huh. Okay, weird. Maybe they had to get rid of the car and he was, I don't know. That one's interesting. I want to carry you, but the doctor said your legs would stop growing if you didn't walk. Another classic. If you pee in the pool, you'll get the girls pregnant and have to get a job. That one's kind of messed up, but also really funny. As a child, I used to have the worst luck. Whenever my sister and I would have Fruit Loops, she only got a couple brown ones, and almost my whole bowl was brown Fruit Loops. The first time I poured my own Fruit Loops, I actually considered that God might be real, and that he might be trying to reward me for something. I didn't get a single brown Fruit Loop. When I told my mom, she admitted there was no such thing as brown Fruit Loops and that she had been giving me bowls of Cheerios because I'm diabetic. Aww. That's cute. I was made to believe that the city of Amsterdam was actually called Hamster Jam. I told both of my kids that the ice cream truck was the music truck. Its purpose was to drive around and cheer up all the sad people. That one's kind of cute. I like that. A trick my mom used to get us out of her hair was you can catch a bird by putting salt on its tail. I'd spend hours running around the yard with a salt shaker looking like a damn fool. I tried this trick on my son and he just looked at me and said I was nuts. That's fair. My mother told me that our house wasn't haunted because ghosts were too expensive and we couldn't afford them. I like that. Oh, it's so good. My kids are convinced that they have a long-lost brother somewhere that I dropped off because he was too loud in the car. I am sure they will figure it out, but for the time being, our road trips are very quiet and peaceful. I mean, that's fair. The rumble strips on the highway are for blind drivers. Took me 7 years to realize. Well played, Dad. Okay. When I was about 6, I was obsessed with the song Believe by Cher, and I would have it on repeat for hours at a time. We would drive 9 hours from Washington to Idaho to visit family, and as soon as we crossed the state line, My mother would immediately change the CD to radio and tell me it was illegal to listen to anything but country music in Idaho, which I hated, but she loved. I believed that shit until I was about 13. Fantastic. I told my kids that if they didn't behave while waiting in the drive-thru line, they'd get a sad meal. Aww. When they want something that is beyond reason, I tell them that they can have it if they kiss their elbow. My 9 and 7-year-old daughters are over it, but my 5-year-old son still tries like his life depends on it. Cute. A friend allows her little kids to watch 1 hour of TV a day. When their hour's up, she turns off the TV's power bar without them noticing and tells them the TV's empty, which they believe because the remote no longer works. That one's pretty good. My dad used to tell me that Santa was tired of cookies and milk and that he wanted Doritos and beer. That went on for years. Heck yeah. He'd be doing a lot of work out there, man. I was told that the reason why I had so many nosebleeds was because I had too much blood in my body. I found out that this wasn't the case when I was 18 years old and had a nosebleed at a friend's house. My friend's mother asked me if I was okay, and I told her I was fine. I just had too much blood in my body. She couldn't stop howling with laughter. Aww. I hate and love the ones where it's like, I believed this up until I was like in my late teens. It's like, oh no. My mom had me believe that she was 21 for the longest time. So when I was around 10, I asked, when are you going to turn 22? That's pretty good. When I was younger, I drew a picture of an alien and gave him a butt. I showed it to my dad, and he told me drawing butts was illegal, so I quickly changed it. I remember reading Captain Underpants and being so confused at how the author got it past the government. Wonderful. I'm Chinese. My mom told me that for every grain of rice I waste would indicate the number of dents on my face when I grow up. From then on, even when I dropped a grain of rice on the floor, I would eat it. Never wasted a grain of rice ever again. Dang. My mom told my sister that they only named hurricanes after girls, otherwise they would be himicanes. That's a good one. My flatmate grew up on a farm, and she was told by her parents that their TV only worked when it rained. She believed this for far, far too long. I dated a dude once who didn't find out until he was a teenager that you can actually eat more than 1 marshmallow a day. His parents told him that if you ate more than one, they would expand in your stomach and kill you. I think he ate a lot of marshmallows after that. It's fair enough. My parents told us that on Christmas morning, if we looked or touched our presents before 7 a.m., then magic would make them disappear and we wouldn't get them. I believed this for far too long, and even after I knew, I still was nervous to touch them in case they disappeared. Aw, you got a little bit of trauma there. Alright. When I was little, my favorite restaurant was this one diner. My grandmother was coming into town, so naturally I wanted to take her to the diner. I asked my dad if we could go, and he said that old people weren't allowed there. Obviously, I found this totally offensive, so I decided to boycott the place and never went back. Way to be in solidarity with your grandma. I was once asked why a tree on my street was painted white. My dad said the government does that to show kids how far they can walk down the street without a parent. Fantastic. When I was a kid, I asked my father what it means if your second toe is longer than your big toe. His answer, it means that your great-grandmother was a woman. I was satisfied with that answer at the time, but realized it was bullshit long before I became a doctor. My mother had me convinced that you had to say open door in order for automatic doors to open. I didn't think I realized that they opened automatically until I was like 8. That's not a bad age to figure that out. Whew. Grandma told me that there's a tube connecting my belly button to my butt, and that if I unscrew my belly button, my butt will fall off. That's ridiculous. When you lie, your ears turn red. I covered my ears every time I lied. Yep. If I didn't sit still during a haircut, the barber would cut my ear off. The worst part was the barber would play along. Oh. My mother told me that my lips would turn purple if I kissed a boy. When I was in high school, I had kissed a boy at a football game and asked my friend for lip gloss to cover up the purple on my lips. She laughed at me, and I felt very embarrassed. That's kind of sad. I told my 3-year-old nephew that my sister's name is Potato. It was 10 years ago. He's still calling her that at every family gathering. Wonderful. If you don't read at least one book a week, your brain will stop growing. That's a good one. Don't touch that. It'll turn into spiders. Fantastic. My dad told me I could not get a sundae because they were only sold on Sundays. My mother told me that the thunder was God rearranging his furniture. That's another one that I always thought was interesting because I don't think I ever heard this from my parents. Maybe my grandparents or my great-grandparents, one of the two, but we used to be told thunder was just God bowling. God and the angels were bowling, and that was what it was. And I think like lightning was like when he got a strike or something like that. Lots of interesting ways to explain rain to a child. Or thunderstorms, at least. Whenever my mom would fart, she would blame it on the ants in the house, and I believed her. Whenever my mom would fart, she would tell me that it was a duck, that she stepped on a duck. The candy next to the checkout line are not for sale. That's a good one. My mom's friend got tired of kids eating her scallops when they went to restaurants, so she told them that scallops are dolphin balls. Oh no. My dad told me that the reason old TV shows and movies were in black and white was because there was no color in the world at the time. He said color was invented partway through filming The Wizard of Oz, which is why it starts in black and white and switches to color. I don't think I was ever told that, but I'm pretty sure I thought that. So that's funny. My ex's mother told her kids that they had to make sure they watched her, the mom, at all times to make sure she didn't get kidnapped. Neither of her kids ever got lost or wandered away. Smart. My mom tells my sister the internet lady turns the internet off at 6 p.m. every night. Genius. My mother once told me not to swallow apple seeds because a tree would grow in my stomach. I actually believed her for a while. There you go. I'm not the only one. My coworker told her son, who is afraid of clowns, that ice cream trucks were driven by clowns. He heard that music and sprinted to his room. Evil genius of a parent. All right, pretty good. That would have gotten me away from the ice cream truck. I was terrified of clowns, mostly because of it. The cashier forgot to put the candy in the bag time after time. Ugh. That's a pretty good one. Grew up in West Texas in the middle of nowhere with no street lights, so my curfew was when it got dark. If I wasn't home before it was dark to eat dinner and get ready for bed, my mother would shout, "You better get in here before the chupacabra gets you." And I would proceed to break world records running and riding my bike home, and I would then play it cool when she saw me just briskly walking in the house. She even had me believing the sounds of cicadas were the chupacabra. That's pretty good, though, because they do make, like, pretty creepy sounds at night. That's funny. Remember back in the 90s when the Gap had mannequins with no faces? Well, my parents used to tell my sister that if I misbehave in the mall, we would end up as one of the Gap kids with no faces. Well, that's kind of traumatizing. My mom told my younger siblings that when they tell a lie, they would grow lie bumps on their tongue. For years, anytime she suspected they were lying. She just had to say, "Let me see your tongue." Made it much easier to solve arguments when they both blamed each other. That's pretty good. When I was little, my mom told me saltine crackers were called cookies. I loved cookies and legitimately thought they were saltine crackers for longer than I am willing to admit on the internet. One day I had a real cookie at a friend's house and knew instantly I had been hoodwinked. Luckily, my mom made delicious chocolate chip cookies to make up for the deception. Well, at least she made up for it. I liked saltine crackers. I still do. I used to be weird, and I licked the salt on the top and then I would eat them. I don't know why. I don't know. I just really liked the salt taste, I guess. Living on the West Coast, my friend would show the East Coast feed of the NYE countdown to her kiddos. They were always in bed by 9. Brilliant. Genius. My dad convinced me that our last name literally translated to "of Caesar," and we were direct descendants of the rulers of Rome. I felt like a badass until I started taking Latin classes in middle school. Santa had birds that watched me 365 days a year, and every child starts with 365 presents, and every time you're bad, his elves throw a present on the fire. Now I was bad, but not 358 presents worth of bad. That's fair. If you don't behave, the pilot will turn the plane around. Pretty good. My friend's dad, when he was little, "Hey buddy, have you been pushing your nipples in every night?" "What? You haven't been pushing them in? Why would I need to? You know how mommy looks different? She has boobs, right?" "Yes, and men don't, because we push our nipples in at night." "But you haven't been." Commence panic for the last several months. Okay, that's unnecessary. If you just tell the truth, you won't get in trouble. Biggest lie. My dad told me when I was really little, that graveyards were just people farms. Oh, that's a little morbid. It's not technically wrong. I was told that if a centipede counted my teeth, I would die. To this day, I close my mouth when I see a centipede. I'm over 40 years old. Why, though? I need more context for that one. As a kid, my dad convinced me that there was a species of mountain goat that had evolved with longer legs on one side, so it could balance on steep slopes. I was a dumbass kid. I mean, okay, but if you've ever seen that one picture of the mountain goats climbing up a very steep slope and it's like kind of weirdly balancing, I could see how you could believe that pretty easily. I told him all kids shows go to sleep at 8 just like him, and we have a timer set at 8 to turn the TV off automatically. Genius. If you don't learn how to read, your voice disappears. This one worked surprisingly well because my son came down with strep and it freaked him the fuck out, yeah? It freaked me out. If you don't wash your hands before you eat, your food will start to taste like poop. That's pretty good and gross. That Santa uses Christmas trees as spy beacons to make sure children aren't being naughty. It's a good one. My mother told me I have to drink my milk every day so I would get nice boobs. I have a D now. I tell my daughter she has to eat her broccoli for princess hair, carrots for My Little Pony eyes, and she does not need big boobs, I think. They just get in the way. Thanks, Mom. That's so weird. That's weird. If you don't wipe your butt properly, it'll close up and you'll have to spit out your poop. Ew. That one's weird, but it's not unnecessary. I think the boobs one feels a little unnecessary. My mom used to tell me that 7-Eleven wasn't open until 11 a.m. Missed out on many a Slurpee. Fair enough. My kids have no concept of what coal is, so telling them Santa would leave it in their stockings was more work than it was worth. Instead, I told them that if they were naughty, Santa would let the reindeer poop in there. I think that's a better answer, honestly, than the coal. I know the coal is like a traditional thing, but I feel like it's one of those ones where now we don't, like, if little kids don't understand what the tradition is, then they can't understand, like, why coal is a bad thing, I guess. I don't know. As a kid, I put a tooth in a plastic bag and slid it under my pillow for the tooth fairy. When my parents forgot to put money under my pillow, my dad said you shouldn't have put the tooth in a bag. The tooth fairy couldn't smell it. Ew. I wonder what teeth would smell like. I don't want to know. My father told me and my Catholic cousin that Easter was the day that Jesus rolled back the rock, and if you saw his shadow, we'd have 6 more weeks of winter. My aunt was beyond pissed when my cousin broke that out at her first communion. That dad's a troll. I love it. My dad told me oil stains on the street were little kids that got run over because they didn't hold anyone's hand while crossing the street. Pretty good. The brown cows weren't working today, so we only have white milk. Nice. Your baby toe is the smallest because it was born last. That one's cute. My aunt told my little cousin that after Halloween, he would have to leave his bag of candy on the porch for some Halloween spirit to take. She, or the spirit, would leave a gift in the morning. So my cousin basically collected the neighbor's candy to barter for some gift. You know what? Fair enough. At least he got something. She didn't just, like, take it from him. That would be mean. And he still got to participate in Halloween. And the real sadness would have been if she just was like, no. My dad convinced me it was illegal to play with a toy or game if you were not in the recommended age groups. For example, if it said for ages 7 and up and I was 6, then it was illegal for me to play with. That one's pretty good. My father told me that pears were apples from outer space. I like that. When I was little, my mom told me that boogers were tiny pieces of my brain, and I would get more and more dumb each time I picked them. I feel like I've heard that someone use that one before. My dad would tell me that I had a brother named Steve who misbehaved all the time, so one day the raccoon clan came and took him away. He spent so much time with them that he became a raccoon. I told all my friends and teachers about this up until 4th grade, and then it hit me. Oh, any lie that I hear where it's like, oh, this, like, thing is gonna come take you away or something like that, those are so scary because you can't imagine how the kid must feel about it. Oh, hold on, I gotta, like, stretch my neck a little bit. I convinced my son that I had eyes in the back of my head so I could see him and his brother misbehaving in the back seat while I was driving. A week later, he wanted to comb my hair while sitting on the back of my chair. He took a really long time, and I asked why. He said he was trying to see my eyes in the back of my head, and I said I'm keeping them closed so you don't scratch them with the brush. He believed this for a couple years and then figured out I could see him in the rearview mirror. That's still pretty good. I think I always had teachers who convinced us they had eyes in the back of their head. When my ex-girlfriend was a kid, she had misbehaved and her dad told her he was only going to buy her one boob when she grew up. That's messed up. Come on, man. Don't talk about your kids' body parts. It's not cool. If you eat after 8 p.m., you turn into a gremlin, and the only way to stop the process of changing into one is to eat a vegetable. Wonderful. Dad convinced us he had a special button to change red lights to green. Literally didn't realize he was bullshitting until I was like 12. That's fair. I believe that it was illegal to have lights on in a moving car. Alright. Oh yeah, like the overhead lights. Yeah. I don't know why we thought that was so bad. I mean, our parents would always get annoyed and tell us to, like, turn them off, but I don't know that we thought it was, like, I feel like someone told us it was, like, illegal or something, and it may not have been my parents, but someone did. My friend's parents told him there was a big, beautiful fish that lived behind the bathroom mirror, and if he used too much water, it would die. What? Jesus. When we go on a road trip, I'm going to tell my kids, if you go to sleep, we'll take the shortcut. That's funny. You have to eat your dinner with a fork and knife. Knife on the right. So you can join our king, the Netherlands, for dinner one day and don't look stupid. All right then. Pretty good. When my son feels there was horrible injustice done to him and cries because a cartoon was too short, there wasn't something in the store he needed, or just because the change of summer, winter time, I tell him I will write very angry complaint to ministry. Okay, this is just not. English is probably not this person's first language. That's okay. I tell him I will write a very angry complaint to the Ministry of Cartoons, time, or whatever is needed to let them know that we can't accept such awful conditions they put us through. Works for several years. That's pretty good. My mom thought it was time for my younger sister, 1.5 years old, to stop using her pacifier, but my sister couldn't sleep without it. So my mom made up a story and told her that the pacifier had to go home and spend some time with its mom too. My sister believed it and told my mom to let the pacifier go back home. From then on, she never used it again. Sometimes she will ask how the pacifier is doing. Well done, Mom. I like that. I told my daughter that our local pizza place's oven broke, so we couldn't order pizza that day. Aww. Chuck E. Cheese is only for birthday parties. You have to be invited to one to go there. That's a good one. My mom told me that eating bread crusts would give me curly hair. Okay. Oh, so they would eat the bread crust. Okay, I get it. I was like, why would you want to avoid that? My daughter was afraid of monsters at night, like all kids, so I gave her a potato masher and told her that it was a magic stick that keeps monsters away if she sleeps with it by her pillow. That's so cute. My mom showed the video of me being born in reverse and said that's what happens to children who misbehave. Oh no. That's traumatizing. Whenever the ice cream man came through my neighborhood and my father did not want to buy me ice cream, he would tell me that it was just the beer man, and he'd let me know when the ice cream man was actually driving by. I never even realized the beer man was not a thing until I was much older. God dang, people be lying about the ice cream man all the time. Sorry, sweetie, you can't watch any more Elmo videos. It's Elmo's bedtime and he's sleeping now. That's a good one. That if we jump on a plane, the plane would keep going and we would go flying backwards and slam into the rear wall. It worked for years and kept us sitting quietly in planes until my older brother made me try to jump. That's funny. My mom hated swimming, so she told me she was allergic to water. At a young age, I just believed her, but I grew older. I asked her how she bathes, to which she convincingly replied, I have special medication for that. Again, I believed her until one very hot summer's day, she finally decided to swim, to which I freak out, of course, thinking she'd die. Aww. When I was a kid, I was super sure that cats are the women of dogs. Yeah, that's something I think most kids believe, so. If you eat enough vegetables, your body makes them taste like candy. My mom always asked my brother's kindergarten teacher what he had done during the day. Then back at home, she would speak with him about these things, telling him that she had a special channel on her TV where she can watch him all day long. That's a good one. My mom told me that when an earthquake happened, it was because our planet was fighting with another planet. I believed that crap until second grade. My friend ripped open a hand warmer. When the powder got on his hands, his parents told him his hands would disintegrate by age 30. We looked up what disintegrate meant later that night, and he bawled hysterically while staring at his hands. Again, kind of traumatizing to do to your kid. My mom told my sister that Chucky, the evil murderous doll from the Child's Play series, lived in our AC vents to get us to stop sticking Cheerios in them. I was terrified to go near vents into adulthood. But why were you sticking Cheerios in the AC vents? I need to know. I need more context. I need answers. Please. Also, that would terrify me. I would stop immediately. Chucky and It, the clown from It, Pennywise, were the two, scary movie things I hated, was very scared of as a kid. You can only wear your Batman costume outside on Halloween and maybe on your birthday. It says so on the tag. My parents said if you play with your belly button, you'll pop like a balloon and fly around the room. What is wrong with... Let kids play with their belly button. Nothing wrong with it. We would go blackberry picking behind our house in the summer. In order for us to not pick the green, unripe berries, my mom would tell us to only pick the dark ones because the green ones meant that a dog had peed on it. We never touched the green ones. Just say they're not... Some of these I'm like, this is so unnecessary. My parents, at least my mom, and my dad, they were both very forthcoming with a lot of things. So I didn't get a lot of these, little white lie things. Not that I remember anyway. My parents, we asked questions. They would tell us the answer, as appropriately as they could. And, yeah, it's, berries, don't pick the green ones because they're not ready. It's easy as that, man. My dad used to tell us amazing adventurous stories when in 1944 he was in Klondike fighting bears, eating wolves, living in a cave during the winter until we realized he was born in 1955. Oh, we live in Italy. Amazing memories. Wonderful. I told my son when I turned 34 that I went to the courthouse and had my age stopped. He gave me handmade birthday cards wishing me a happy 34th birthday for many years. He is now older than me. Oh no, this isn't cola, it's black water. You wouldn't like it. That's a good one. A fart is two turds whispering to each other. That's just gross. I will always remember when I had a pile of grated carrots on my plate and I didn't like carrots. I was told it was a big pile of cheese and naive me decided to eat it. I was trolled by my own parents. Yeah, most of us are. I routinely tell this to children when they ask why the sky is blue. The sky is blue because we live inside the eye of a blue-eyed giant named Macumba. Okay? My parents hired an actor to pretend to be a drugged-out version of myself from the future to scare me away from drugs. Alright, that's going to extreme lengths, I think. My mother told me that every time I lied, a piece of my tongue would fall off. She would convince me by putting a piece of me on her finger without me seeing, reach in my mouth and pull it out and show me. I'd cry for hours. Candy canes are the bones of rejected elves. Oh no. I told my godchildren that my brother, who they call Uncle Farty Pants, has such bad wind that he's not allowed on planes because farting affects the air pressure and will make them crash. Oh God. Once, more than once, I forgot to play Tooth Fairy. My daughter was so upset and I had to come up with something quickly. I told her she was a little on the older side of losing her teeth. The Tooth Fairy always started with the younger ones. She must have run out of time last night. Okay, that one's not that bad. My dad used to say he could make the traffic lights turn green. He'd count down 3, 2, 1 green, and the light would change. It wasn't until I was older that I realized he was timing off the light turning red for the crossroad. Yeah, well. Lucky Charms are for leprechauns. If you eat too many, you'll shrink and have to wear a green suit and have a red beard. Pretty good. I was told that if I swallowed my gum, my poop would bounce up and down in the toilet. I cried every time I accidentally swallowed some. So funnily enough, I did learn that recently, that if you swallow gum, because I think the fear is like you can't digest it, but it will pass. Like you can swallow it, it just won't, like it doesn't digest, no, but you can pass it. So like you can swallow your gum, alright? I wouldn't do it too often, but you can do it. I didn't like eating rabbit. My mother decided I was being difficult and was having none of that. So she told me that what I had on my plate was a chicken leg. I told her it tasted really funny, and she replied, that's because I cooked it without the skin. I bought it and finished it all. See, frog, I'm telling you, the frog leg thing, it's not just me. Just tell anybody. It's just chicken. It's chicken. Okay, we'll do a couple more here and then be done because, man, almost 50 minutes of these. Exactly 50 minutes now. All right. My mom told me that if I get angry, I would get old. Then she pointed at an old lady and said, look at her. Last week she was the same age as you, and now she's 70 years old. So I held in my anger for years. Kind of traumatizing a little bit. I told my kid that the human body only has so many words until it runs out and then you die. That's why old people slur their words more, because they are running out. It's a lot of words, millions, but don't waste them. When you're a child, they didn't talk for the rest of the day. I mean, if it works, it works. I told a kid that a car was essentially 4 unicycles lashed together, and they were really small people pedaling at super high speeds. Again, that's just unnecessary. Why? I took my sister and to keep my sister and I busy, my mom would tell us if we could kiss our elbow, we would turn into the opposite sex. That's funny. I can't imagine that kept you busy for very long, but okay. If I didn't stop biting my nails, they would get infected and I would have to get tiny needles in my fingers. I hated needles. Still do. Me too. I mean, it's not needles. I don't like shots. I can handle a needle, though. You have to wear your pants, because if you don't, we will have to move to a different city where naked people live. Great. Alright, last two. My mom told me that Red Bull was alcohol because she did not want me to drink it. Pretty good. My dad told me that if I take a spoonful of vinegar while closing my eyes, I can see heaven. I really believed him, so I tried it. Oh no, that's sad. See, some of these are like hilarious and it makes sense, but then others are like, why? And I'm sure my parents had me do silly things in the name of messing with me, but dang, some of these are mean, downright cruel. All right, well, I think that is where we'll leave it for today. Thank you for taking the time to listen, and if you enjoyed the show, please like and subscribe and share it. It really helps me out. Thanks, and I'll see you next time. Bye. Thank you for listening to I'm Already Looking It Up. If you're enjoying the podcast, please like and subscribe. If you'd like to support the show, you can go to my Patreon at patreon.com/wildforestproductions. Don't forget to check out all the social links below. Thank you!